Hello, faithful, and welcome to another edition of White Throne Metal Radio's Top 10 Songs. Today we'll be talking about our top 10 favorite songs from Christian thrash metal band Vengeance Rising. And I add the Rising on there because I guess I have to. To me, the band will always go by the moniker Vengeance. Of course, most of us realize and know that when the album was first released, it was titled just Vengeance. There was another band from England called Vengeance that, frankly, most people here in the U.S., like 99.9% of us, had never heard of before. And they spelt Vengeance a little differently to make sure there wasn't any confusion. Subsequently, the band added the word Rising due to all the legal hullabaloo that went around that. I am your host, Keven Crothers, host of the Throne Room podcast, White Throne Metal Radio, and staff writer for Heaven's Metal magazine. Glad and thankful that you decided to tune in and join me today on this episode. Like I said, top 10 songs of Vengeance Rising. Vengeance, for me, hold a very special place in my heart. Saw them for the first time the day before the His Festival in 1987. Myself, Dave Johnson, Dave Matillo, and Charlie Waters from White Throne magazine. We all drove down to Riverside, California for the His Festival. Got there, I believe, a day before. Interesting stories about that show and everything, maybe for another video. But the day before the festival, we all drove to Anaheim to go see this thrash band we had heard about called Vengeance. We also knew at the time the band The Crucified would be opening for them. We were familiar with The Crucified, the Take Up Your Cross and Nailed demos were available. This was before the album. Crucified played and was at Set Free Christian Fellowship in Anaheim. Another place, I'm sure, for more stories for another time. And Crucified played, blew us away, thought they were great. And we're all standing around waiting for this band to come out, and they all, get up on the stage, and this guy starts preaching, and he starts preaching hard. And we're all kind of looking at each other going, man, all right, well, when's the song going to start? And then he, ends up being, it's Roger Martinez. He ends up saying, we're going to open our first song called White Throne. And the four of us all look at each other and we were like, yeah, White Throne! Hence the reason for White Throne magazine. We already had the magazine out. It wasn't because of the song we had the magazine. We started the name, but it was already, so it was just like, yeah, perfect. Larry Farkas, lead guitar player. This shot is from that show at Set Free Christian Fellowship, as well as the pictures on the inside as well, also from Set Free Christian Fellowship. This was White Throne issue number 3. They played White Throne, Human Sacrifice, I Love Hating Evil, He Is God, Beheaded, and I think at the time they called it Prodigal Son. It became Mulligan Stew. They changed the lyric on it later, but it was called Prodigal Son at the time. Those were the songs they played, and we just ate it up. The songs themselves, it was over real quick, and a lot of heavy-duty preaching in between just blew us all away. Up to that time, most thrash bands, it seemed to me, in 1986, 1987, they were playing, they were just kind of standing there, and Vengeance were doing windmills and going absolutely ballistic, and it was amazing. And ever since then, Metal Mardi Gras, saw them at the Waters Club, and it was, they played with Neon Cross, but they were all opening essentially for TSOL, True Sounds of Liberty, and they were a punk band, if you're not familiar. And when they played and Roger started preaching, I remember seeing the guys from TSOL came down on this stairwell on the side there at the Waters Club before they went on. They were all just like, who is this? What is this? Everybody's blown away. Every time I saw Vengeance, they would blow people away. Now, regardless of what your feelings are, because we all know Roger Martinez has left the faith. their music still had a major impact on me, without a doubt, and which is why I still have their material. The music still means a lot to me. It has helped me at times with my Christian faith in deeper ways, I think, than I even realize. So, and we know the albums, the debut. Oh, we got a few issues of that. The original from 1988. This one, and this, folks, I got to tell you, this is going to be kind of a longer video. It's going to be a longer video. This is the original from '88. Actually, this was a third copy that I bought because the print on the back, I kept wondering, wow, what is this? When I bought this like 2 years, 3 years after it was released. But this is a Intense Records, distributed at the time by Star Song edition. The first one I bought, the CD I bought, did not have the collage. Vengeance was just a simple red Vengeance print, and then the song listing. And I don't even think it had the picturing on the inside. I think it was all black. And then, of course, all the lyrics and whatnot. We've all seen this. We've all heard this. But this was the third one I bought. The first one I bought, like I said, didn't have the collage and such. The first one I bought was simple printing. This had to have been a second or third run later. But I also had bought the Restless Records / Medusa Records release at Tower Records in Campbell, California. Probably a month or two after the album was released. Of course, we know it's been reissued. This was back in 2011 on Intense Millennium. It was reissued again for the 30th anniversary. This was a Rocks production as well, with some nice autographs on there. Thanks again for that, Mr. Bafford. And then, of course, about a year ago, 2 years ago, the first mix, a rough mix, a test mix, as it were, was issued by Rocks Productions. And, in my opinion, a glaring omission on this. I was given credit as being a source for this material. And on one hand, yes, I was a source. But on the second hand, Mr. Doug Peterson, who was also a writer for White Throne, was also a source for this material. And unfortunately, he was not credited. And this is we can't figure out, I don't believe it was a fault of Rocks. I don't think I've ever mentioned it to Bill, but Dave and I had a discussion, Doug Peterson and I had a discussion about this. And Doug, you get credit on that. You should, my friend. Briefly, back in the day at White Throne, when Dave Johnson, our publisher and main editor, we would receive demos from all over the U.S. and across in Europe and so on, South America. All of those demos, since none of us were paid, Dave would copy all of them onto a 90-minute cassette, White Throne staff tapes. Don't worry, we will get to the top 10 songs here. Onto the White Throne staff tapes, and everybody who was on staff would get copies. So a rough mix, the initial mix, whatever that first mix was given to Dave by Caesar Kalinowski. At that time, he was the president for Intense Records. The album hadn't come out, but they'd gone into the studio. And Dave had given that mix to me. And then through all the staff, we all got it. And Doug Peterson, being on staff at the time, he got a copy of it as well. For me, what I call the Great Purge of 2001, 2002, there was a lot of this stuff, guys. You have no idea. There were over 50 of those staff tapes, 90-minute cassettes of demos and unreleased material. Gone. The Great Purge. Some of it was sold. Some of it was thrown away. My goodness. The history, that was gone. And I have been trying to get that back. But Doug Peterson, he apparently had kept his. And several years ago, before that whole CD was issued, I happened to ask him, I think, if he still had his. Can't remember how the cop, and he sent them to me, files to me, and then Bill Baffert and I, a year or two or whatever it was later, we had a conversation. Hey, I have this, and I forwarded it to Bill. I had conversations with Glenn Manicaruso. I hope I'm not butchering your name, Glenn. I'm sorry. And then they pressed it and they put it out. And Doug never had a conversation, as I understand it, with Bill. Doug, correct me if I'm wrong. But had conversations with Glenn, and I think maybe with Larry or Doug Thiem as well. Unfortunately, Doug just wasn't credited as a source for this material. And so I just want to make sure you are publicly credited as being the source for that material. And it is an oversight, but hopefully you're getting that credit for it now. And, rightfully so. It is a piece of Christian metal history, along with, for me, this also is a piece of Christian metal history. This is I can tell you, a first pressing of Vengeance, Human Sacrifice, as you can see there. No rising on it. Has all the lyrics and everything else. All of the intense label pressing. And okay, this was the actual, I'm going to tell you, this was the actual lyric sheet. I don't have my copy of the 5-song demo. It is long gone. It was sold 20 years ago. But I can tell you that this is an actual lyric sheet that if you bought the demo, and I got my copy of the demo at Metal Mardi Gras, they went like hotcakes. You had the demo and then that lyric sheet. And honestly, I didn't even remember I had the lyric sheet in there, but I know exactly that's what it is. And apparently, it looks like a big announcement yesterday. I didn't see it till last evening, but it looks like Rox Productions is going to reissue this album, Human Sacrifice, and the follow-up, Once Dead, on vinyl, brand new vinyl and gold edition CDs. You may want to check those out if you haven't already purchased your copies. This was the follow-up, Once Dead, 1990. A bit different on this. On the Human Sacrifice album, Glenn Rogers actually co-wrote a lot of the songs on that album. And Glenn, you must have a couple of stories. So if you ever watch this video, you should, let us know, how did you come about being in part of Vengeance? Because you didn't record the album, but you did help write many of the best songs, in my opinion. Human Sacrifice, White Throne, Beheaded, so on. There were also the 2 other follow-up albums, a whole lot of stories that goes along. Obviously, Destruction Comes, and then Released Upon the Earth. All of the original members, minus Roger Martinez, had left the band to form Die Happy. Different story, different video. And I've gone on way too long with this preliminary stuff, so let's get down to it. Top 10 Vengeance songs. And my list is probably going to be different than many other lists, but that's okay. And this list could change. This isn't to say these are their best songs. These are my favorite. Pardon me. My favorite. Coming in at number 10, off of the Destruction Comes album, You Can't Stop It. A great opening song, it's got a cool riff and a great hook. To me, the best Vengeance tunes always had some kind of a hook. Even at 1,000,000 miles an hour, you can still write a hook. It's memorable, and you'll be singing You Can't Stop It for hours after you listen to that song. Coming in at number 9, album closer from the debut, Beheaded. Fast as a freight train, faster than a speeding bullet. Beheaded, that gurgly intro that was on the demo. that is just, when it kicks in, the screaming, the brutal screaming at the end. I want my head chopped off, you'll see my body rot, then I'll reign with Christ, and then you'll fry. Over the top lyric from Roger Martinez. Just a great thrash metal song. Coming in at number 8, off of the follow-up, off of Once Dead, some of the best Vengeance songs weren't always the fastest ones, but the ones that had a groove that just, they were heavy, and Frontal Lobotomy. What a great song. Had a heavy groove. It's got that great middle piece where it speeds up. Just a fantastic tune. Frontal Lobotomy comes in at number 8. Also off of the Once Dead album. Number 7. An epic that I heard, I think it had to have been Metal Midnight, or the second, it had to be the third. It was either Metal Midnight or the third His Festival. I can't remember. Sorry, it's been a long time ago. But they played this song, and it was so heavy, and it translated over to the Once Dead album. That's Into the Abyss. Heavy. Just grinding vocal. Just non-stop. Just boom, boom. Going on. 8 minutes. Again, great guitar playing. Number 6, album opener for Once Dead, Warfare. Great bass guitar from Roger Dale Martin. Has like this tempo, kind of a tempo change throughout the song. Great gang vocal for the chorus. Warfare gets the pit going, and it just craziness, absolute craziness. Warfare comes in at number 6. Speaking of bass guitar, coming in at number 5 off of the debut, Roger Dale Martin again. Great bass tone, my friend. Cranking out Burn. A great hook, a great chorus, a mid-tempo, heavy, driving song with just, great tune all the way around. Despite the mistake, yes, I'm going to mention it, there is a mistake in that song. A free no prize if you know where that mistake is. And a great guitar solo. There's your hint, and it's not the guitar solo. But all-time classic Vengeance song. Used to have the t-shirt for Burn. A great song. Coming in at number 4 off the Once Dead album, the second track, Can't Get Out. A great intro. There's a funny story that goes along with that with Larry Farkas being trapped in the recording room and a guitar chord. It's hilarious. And it's got another great song that's got a hook with brilliant guitar playing from both from Doug and Larry. And just phenomenal. And a classic. Can't Get Out comes in at number 4. Number 3, here we are in the top 3. And like I say, these songs are all interchangeable in most respects. I'm so familiar with them, they stick with me. Always. Number 3. Thank you, Mr. Manicaruso. Glenn, your drumming kicks off Mulligan Stew, and it just starts with that drum intro that goes into that groovy, just grinding, heavy, just bluesy, but still thrash. It's kind of like before Sad But True, there was Mulligan Stew. That makes sense. It's that type of tempo. Heavy, and just beautifully done, without a doubt. A fantastic song. You'll be chunking Mulligan Stew. Probably not want to do that. But number 3, Mulligan Stew, coming in at number 2, down to the top 2. The title track of the debut album, Human Sacrifice. What else to say? A barn burner, absolute speed metal, thrash metal. You try following along with the lyrics with the lyric sheet. It's crazy. Roger Martinez crammed so much lyrical content into that song, and heavy, fast driving. It's a bullet train of a song, and what else can be said except coming in at number 1? Number 1, the first Vengeance song I ever heard. How could it not be my favorite? Starts off with that eerie guitar intro. Thank you, Mr. Glenn Rogers. And of course, I'm talking about White Throne. Fast. Just, it's over before you know it. Pile driver is really, I guess, the best word. Heavy as a battleship. As fast as the speed of light. A great hook. Stellar guitar solo. Just tight. That was the thing with all of the Vengeance material. If you saw them, they were as tight as anything. I mean, how do you play that fast, that tight, and be that maniacal on stage? It was beyond reason. I saw a lot of thrash bands. I saw Slayer. Okay, Slayer wrote great songs with melody and all of that kind of stuff. Heavy, fast, but they stood there. They just stood there. Vengeance didn't just stand there. Watching Roger Dale Martin and watching Doug Thiem go absolutely nuts with the windmills and everything else, and seeing Larry go bananas and Roger's running around and Glenn is just bashing away on the drums. What can I say? I talked so long we ran out of room on the SD card. Hey, again, Vengeance were one of the best live bands I've ever seen. I'll close it on that note. Other than to say, I wish I still had a copy. Kerrang! Magazine did a review of the original Human Sacrifice album. It got 4 out of 5 Ks. Just so you'd like to know. Feel free to give me your top 10 Vengeance songs. Put those in the comments below. Don't forget to click the like button if you like the video. Feel free to subscribe, share it with your friends. Got more stuff in the pipeline forthcoming. God bless. Don't forget to say your prayers, and we'll talk to you real soon. Bye-bye.